It was nearing midnight, and the rusted ceiling fan above Asha's desk was groaning under the strain of the humid monsoon air. She wiped her forehead with the edge of her dupatta and glanced at the outdated wall clock ticking slowly in the empty hallway. The government clinic in the outskirts of Villavati village rarely saw patients at this hour unless it was an emergency. Tonight, like many others, was expected to end in silence. But silence did not come. The clatter of wheels on the gravel road shattered the stillness. A battered jeep screeched to a halt outside, its horn blaring twice. Asha instinctively rose, heart pounding with anticipation. The doors burst open and two men in forest ranger uniforms rushed in, their faces grim, their arms wrapped around a limp woman, tall, lean, her face bloodied, skin pale against the deep red of her torn kurta. "Auto accident?" Asha asked as she helped lay the unconscious woman on the gurney. "No, she just appeared on the trail near the eastern jungle boundary," one of the rangers said, his voice low, tinged with unease. "Said her name was Dr. Mara. Couldn't explain what happened." Then she collapsed. Asha's instincts kicked in. Her hands were quick but gentle, assessing for broken bones, checking pupils, heartbeat. The woman had a head injury, lacerations on her arms, signs of struggle, but no explanation, no vehicle, no ID, nothing. Who was she? As Asha cleaned the wounds and started the IV drip, she noticed strange markings along the woman's left arm, ancient-looking, symbols that had been etched into her skin as if burned there. They weren't tribal tattoos. They looked like something else, something far older. When Dr. Mara finally opened her eyes, she did so without confusion, as if she knew exactly where she was. Her gaze scanned the room not with panic but with the calm precision of someone cataloging her surroundings. "Where am I?" Her voice was low, hoarse but controlled. "You're safe," Asha replied gently. "At the Villavati clinic. You were found injured near the jungle." Mara sat up, slowly. Her strength returned faster than Asha expected, as though her wounds were healing at a pace beyond medical explanation. She winced but didn't cry out. "I shouldn't be here," she said more to herself than to Asha. "I was trying to keep it from coming through." "What was it?" Asha asked. Mara looked at her with an intensity that made the air feel heavier. "The past. A mistake. Older than this land." Before Asha could ask more, Mara's demeanor shifted. "I'm Dr. Mara Devi. I work with endangered species preservation. I must have tripped, hit my head. Thank you for your care." But Asha didn't buy the sudden change. Her words had a rehearsed quality, a cover. The forest rangers confirmed there was no sign of vehicle tracks near the trail she was found on. And those symbols, Asha had seen them before, etched into stone at the crumbling temple ruins east of the village. Ruins no one visited anymore. The next morning, Mara insisted she was well enough to leave. But Asha convinced her to stay another day, citing protocol and observation. She had questions, and something about Mara's presence unnerved her. Not in fear, but in fascination. That's when things started to go awry. First, the ECG monitor in the hallway short-circuited. Then the old refrigerator storing vaccines began beeping uncontrollably, even when unplugged. Asha initially chalked it up to the monsoon humidity. But then little Sandhya, a 5-year-old girl recovering from pneumonia, screamed when Mara passed by her room. "She has black eyes," Sandhya cried. "Don't let her touch me!" Asha rushed in, confused. Mara stood still, expression unreadable. Later, Asha found her staring at the temple ruins through the clinic window. When asked, Mara replied, "There's a reason the forest reclaims what man abandons. Some places remember what even history forgets." That night, Asha had a nightmare. She wandered a dense, fog-covered jungle, hearing whispers in Tamil and Sanskrit. Then she saw Mara, clad in ceremonial garb, eyes pitch black, chanting in a voice that echoed like thunder through the trees. Asha awoke with a start and found Mara sitting in a chair by her cot, calmly reading. "You were talking in your sleep," she said softly. "You dream like someone who's been marked." Unable to dismiss the symbols, Asha turned to the village elders the next day. She visited Periyathatha, the old temple caretaker, now nearly blind and half forgotten by most of the village. When she described the markings, the old man grew still. He asked Asha to draw them. She did, from memory. "Vanakkam. This is not good," he whispered. "These are the sigils of the Katu Kaval, the forest watchers. Not gods, not demons. Beings of balance. Long before any god was named, they were said to exist between the worlds of life and death, bound to protect the living, until men defied the pact." "What pact?" Asha asked. "They were summoned by fire and blood to stop the spread of something that threatened the world. But the summoners betrayed them, used their power instead. The Watchers vanished. Some say they were cursed to be reborn in mortal bodies, doomed to remember the forest's pain." Asha's blood chilled. The markings matched perfectly. Could Mara be one of these cursed guardians? Was she one of the reborn? Returning to the clinic, Asha found Mara in the archives, flipping through old local maps. One showed a sacred site deep in the jungle, forgotten, unnamed. "That's where I need to go," Mara said quietly, as if the forest had whispered it to her. Asha confronted her that night. The storm raged outside, wind howling through the shutters, rain lashing the tin roof. "I know you're not just a researcher," Asha said. "What are you? What's in the forest?" Mara didn't deny it. She sat down, and for the first time, truly looked vulnerable. "My real name isn't Mara. It's Maragatha Devi. I was born in the shadows of Arunachala, trained by the last of the forest priests. I am the last living guardian of the sealed shrine deep in the jungle." She paused, eyes glinting with pain. "It was bound centuries ago. What lies beneath that shrine is older than any god, something summoned by greed, by men who wanted power. The Watchers, my ancestors, used themselves as keys to lock it away. Every generation, one is born with memory. I am that vessel." Asha trembled. "Why are you here now?" "Because the seal is breaking. Someone, something, is trying to awaken it. I felt it in my dreams, in the bones of the earth. I came to stop it, but I was intercepted. Something attacked me near the shrine. I was not supposed to survive. Lightning split the sky." "Help me," Mara whispered. "Or all of this, your village, this land, it will be swallowed. You've seen the signs. Machines failing. Children afraid. The jungle reclaiming its border." Asha swallowed hard. "What can I do?" "You're not just a nurse. You're someone the forest chose to remember." The dawn after the storm was not a sunrise, but a slow bleeding of light through a sky still bruised by last night's fury. Asha packed a satchel of herbs, medical supplies, water, and a ceremonial thread from her grandmother's prayer box. She didn't understand why, only that it felt necessary. Mara stood waiting at the jungle's edge. Her expression was unreadable, her demeanor both protector and penitent. Together they stepped into the canopy, where even the birds grew silent. At first the forest was familiar. Winding vines, damp moss, cicada choruses. But as they passed into deeper terrain, something shifted. Trees shimmered faintly in the mist, their bark etched with symbols only visible at oblique angles. The wind began to speak, not in words, but in memories. Asha heard her mother's voice, long dead, singing lullabies in a rhythm too perfect to be chance. They crossed a brook that wasn't on any map. Its water reflected the moon, though it was mid-morning. Then came the illusions. Asha saw her childhood home, her father sitting at the doorstep reading aloud from an old book. But when she reached out, it dissolved into vines. Mara gripped her hand. The forest is testing you. It reveals what you mourn, to distract you. Only truth carries you forward. Asha nodded, and they continued. Hours later, they reached a clearing circled by banyan roots, twisted like serpents guarding an altar. In the center was a stone path overgrown with flowering weeds. Mara stopped. This is the threshold. Beyond it, the rules of man no longer apply. Asha stepped beside her. Then we go together. Descending into the earth was like slipping into time's memory. The entrance lay beneath a cracked idol, whose face had been clawed away centuries ago. They cleared the debris, uncovering stairs spiraling down into shadow. Asha held a lantern. The air was stale, copper-scented. The further they went, the louder the distant thrum became, like a heartbeat buried beneath stone. The temple opened into a vast cavern lit by strange fungal light. Pillars held up an ancient dome, and walls were covered in faded pictographs. Mara translated softly. The pact was sealed in blood. 5 offered their spirits. 1 was chosen to remember. As long as she lived, the gate would hold. Asha walked, closer to an inner sanctum. A low archway lined with bones, their surfaces covered in old Tamil script. One line made her stop cold. When the seal weakens, the blood will stir. The land will weep. They pressed on to the heart of the shrine. There, a great stone slab lay flat against the earth, bound by rings of rusted iron, blackened incense, ash and crimson vines that pulsed faintly as though breathing. Mara whispered, "This is it, the gate," and it was weakening. The symbols along the outer edges flickered with unnatural light. At the far wall, newer markings had appeared. Scratches, claw-like gashes where stone had once been smooth. "What's happening?" Asha asked. "It's reaching out. It needs a vessel." Suddenly the air grew heavy. The ground quaked. From behind the stone slab came a sound that chilled their marrow. A child's voice, weeping. But there was no child. Asha moved closer, against Mara's warning. The weeping seemed to call her name now, echoing with uncanny familiarity. Drawn by impulse, or fate, she placed her hand on the edge of the seal. The stone burned cold beneath her skin, and then the world vanished. She found herself in a place, not bound by physics or time, a liminal realm of pulsing black vines and crimson mist. Floating symbols etched the sky, and in the center was a tree made of bone, its roots drenched in blood. From behind the tree emerged a figure cloaked in gold and shadows. It had no face, only an ever-shifting void that reflected back pieces of Asha's soul, her childhood, her grief, her fear, her secret desire for purpose beyond healing wounds. "You are the forgotten healer," it said in a voice like wind over broken stones. "You carry pain. I can take it from you." "No," Asha said, trembling. "You want meaning. I offer truth. I offer freedom. All you must do is open the gate." She backed away. "You are the reason the forest screams." It reached out, not with hands, but with emotion. Regret, loss, seduction. "Let me in. Let me be you." Then pain. A shock like lightning through her body. She awoke in Mara's arms, gasping. The shrine was shaking, vines writhing. "You touched the gate," Mara said. "You saw it," Asha whispered. "It knows my name." They fled the shrine as the trembling intensified, following a lesser-known trail back into the jungle's heart. But they were not alone. The corrupted came at twilight. It was once a Kayatu Kaval, a forest guardian spirit shaped like a bear, with silver fur and moonlit eyes. Now its form was bloated, mangled, and dripping with rot. Its eyes glowed red, its roar a mix of agony and rage. It barreled toward Asha, Jaws wide, Mara threw herself between them, drawing a ceremonial dagger from her belt and slicing through the creature's forearm. It shrieked and struck her across the chest, throwing her into a tree. Asha screamed. She ran to Mara's side as the creature prepared to strike again. But Asha reached into her bag, pulled a pouch of sacred turmeric, and flung it into the air. The powder ignited in the fading sun, creating a radiant cloud. The creature halted, blinded, screaming, and retreated into the jungle. Asha knelt beside Mara. Her wound was deep, blood flowing like ink. "You shouldn't have saved me, Asha," cried. Mara coughed. "It was never a choice. You're the key now." Asha tore her dupatta and bound the wound, her hands shaking. They couldn't stay here. Not as night fell. They returned at dawn, supporting each other, both weary and changed. But the village did not welcome them. Word had spread. Cattle were found dead near the river, bloated with black moss in their mouths. The rice paddies turned to sludge overnight. And above all, the moon, once a beacon, rose blood-red that night, casting an eerie glow that made even the dogs refuse to howl. Villagers blamed Mara. Some blamed Asha, too. "You walked into cursed land," Priyathatha said grimly. "You brought it back with you." Children were kept indoors. The temple was closed. Priests whispered of exorcisms, of old rituals long abandoned. But Asha didn't flinch. She stood before the elders at the Panchayat meeting, her voice calm, but clear. "You're afraid of something that has always been here, but now it's waking. If we don't act, if we continue pretending tradition is protection, then this village won't survive." An elder spat. "You speak like a cursed woman." "No," she said. "I speak like someone who's seen the truth. And I won't let you die in ignorance." Outside, lightning danced over the hills, though the sky was clear. A storm was coming, but not of rain. In the week following the blood moon, Asha spent every waking hour scouring the old library archives. Scrolls her grandmother had sealed away, clay-bound manuscripts copied by monks who never dared sign their names. With Mara still healing, but slowly gaining strength, the two women pieced together something disturbing. The entity was not born evil. It had been human once. Centuries ago, a girl named Avira was born in the village, blessed, they said, with the voice of the goddess. She began speaking in tongues at age 3, predicting rains, births, and deaths with uncanny precision. The temple elders believed she was the next oracle of Alayam, a living conduit to the divine. But the truth was far crueler. They built the subterranean temple not as a sanctum, but as a prison. When Avira's predictions turned darker, visions of famine, war, and the elders' own corruption, they silenced her. She was declared impure, possessed, and ritually bound to the shrine. Her consciousness, tethered by blood magic, was fused into the forest, becoming the thing that now wept through the stones. "She wasn't evil," Asha whispered, tears in her eyes. "She was punished for telling the truth." Mara nodded, solemnly. "That sorrow twisted her over time. She's not a demon. She's grief unburied." The realization changed everything. Asha no longer saw a curse to banish, but a child to grieve, and perhaps to free. Beneath a gnarled neem tree at dusk, Asha prepared the rite. She used only natural ingredients, milk, turmeric, ash from her grandmother's hearth, and placed a clay bowl at the center of a circle, drawn in chalk, salt, and dried petals. Mara watched silently, her wound now healing but still raw. She held an ancient bell, one used in rites of mourning and remembrance. The ritual required pain. Asha sliced her palm and let the blood fall into the bowl, whispering, "Avira, child of light and sorrow, I see you. I do not fear you. Come, not as an enemy, but as the girl you were." The wind stopped. The forest, for one breathless moment, held its breath. Then the bowl shattered. Asha fell backward, into a vision, a realm half light and shadow. There stood Avira. Not a demon, not a monster. A girl of 10, hair matted with dust and tears, eyes deep pools of abandonment. She held a broken doll in one hand and pointed to the horizon, where fire consumed temples and rivers ran black. They lied, Avira said softly. They used me. When I saw truth, they buried it. I believe you, Asha whispered. Avira's eyes glowed. Then why won't you set me free? I will, but your sorrow is poisoning the living. Wouldn't yours? Asha had no answer. But when she awoke, something had changed. The trees near the village gate, long withered, had bloomed overnight. A dead dog once left in offering at the temple had disappeared, replaced by a ring of clean white flowers. The forest was shifting. But so was the seal. They had only days, left before it broke on its own. Rumors spread quickly. The villagers had seen too many omens to ignore. Children falling ill, wells turning bitter, birds circling the banyan tree. And Asha was at the center of it all. One night, just after the third red moonrise, the temple bells rang without hands. Asha was dragged from her hut by men in ceremonial robes, elders who once sat quietly in the back of every council, now possessed by fear. You commune with the cursed, one said. You brought this thing back. Mara arrived as they prepared. The fire pit. The ritual was old, used once in living memory long ago, when a woman accused of witchcraft was burned in the name of cleansing. But Mara stepped between them and Asha, arms outstretched. She's not the danger, Mara said. You are, murmurs rippled. You buried a child alive in stone. You called it holy. You murdered your own oracle. And now her spirit demands justice. And you would rather kill an innocent than face the truth. The crowd shifted uneasily. The younger villagers looked at one another, some ashamed, some confused. Only the elders' faces remained rigid, unreadable. But the truth, once spoken aloud, spread like fire. Asha, bloodied but unbowed, stood beside Mara. I don't need your temple. The forest listens to me now. And with that, lightning struck. The altar. Not by chance. The elders fled. One collapsed sobbing. Another dropped his sacred thread and walked away barefoot into the dark. The reckoning had begun. That night, Asha sat beneath the same neem tree, watching the stars pulse like warnings. She had made her choice. The seal was nearly broken. If Avira awoke in full rage, the forest would die with the village. But if Asha offered herself, temporarily, consciously, perhaps she could soothe the girl's pain, quiet the storm inside her just long enough for Mara to prepare the rite of release. Mara argued against it. You don't know what being a vessel means, she said. It could consume you. I've lived my life serving pain, Asha replied quietly. Maybe it was to prepare me for this. Mara placed a hand on her cheek. Come back to me, no matter what. With that, Asha walked into the jungle one final time. At the shrine, she spoke softly. Avira, if you need a body, take mine. But remember who you are. You were a child, a sister, a seer, not a monster. The seal cracked open with a low groan. Vines encircled Asha's wrists. The air grew cold. Her eyes rolled back, and for a moment, silence. Then she rose, her voice, not hers anymore, echoed with ancient grief. I remember the lies. Mara watched from the hilltop, heartbreaking. She had only one night to finish the ritual. The village gathered before sunrise, not in fear, but in unity. Mara stood at the edge of the shrine with a scroll from the vaults and herbs gathered under the lunar eclipse. The final rite could only be done by one who had never broken an oath. She qualified. Barely, Asha emerged at the shrines, mouth barely walking, eyes rimmed in violet, her voice slow and distant. But something had changed. Avira was no longer screaming. She was listening. Mara began the incantation. Drums beat in the distance. Women circled the shrine, singing an old morning hymn. Men poured blessed water into the earth. And when Mara reached the last verse, a plea for the innocent to return to light, the wind howled. Flowers fell from the sky like tears. Asha cried out and collapsed. A pillar of golden light burst from the shrine. Avira's form, young, flickering, stood briefly above the stone, eyes filled with sadness, but no longer rage. She looked at Mara, then at Asha. Then she was gone. The forest sighed in relief. Days later, Asha awoke in Mara's hut, weak but alive. "You're back," Mara said, holding her hand. "No," Asha whispered. "I'm forward." And outside, the neem tree bloomed with blossoms unseen for 100 years.